I want to welcome everybody to our second night of celebrating the 279th anniversary of the founding of Moravian College, and a big welcome back to everybody who was joining us last night and is back. My name is Amanda Manza. I'm a member of the class of 2013 and the graduate program class of 2017, and serve Moravian as the Director of Alumni and Parent Engagement. I wanted to say a big thanks to Justin Durenzis, who's our Assistant Director of Alumni and Parent Engagement, for putting tonight's event together for us. Before we get started, just a couple housekeeping items for everyone. Tonight's event is being recorded, as you may have just heard, so if you don't want your picture to appear on anything, just make sure you slide your camera off. We also would ask that everyone keep themselves muted during the presentation and while others are talking, just to keep cut down on the background noise. After the presentations, we will open it up for question and answer. You can feel free to submit those questions in the chat box and we will read them out. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our very special MC for the night, the First Lady of Moravian College, Leah Grigsby. Leah is a graduate of Old Dominion University, where she earned a BS in psychology and an MBA. She's held senior level positions in global transportation and logistics and regional economic development in Virginia and Pennsylvania. More recently, Leah transitioned into real estate investing and brokerage. Moravian College's First Lady is an honorary member of Alpha Alpha Alpha, the National Honor Society for First Generation Students, founded right here at Moravian. Leah?
Thank you, Amanda, for that nice introduction, and welcome everyone to tonight's program. I'm so thrilled to see so many wonderful names of folks that I really miss seeing in person. So thank you for joining us in this Zoom presentation. As we celebrate and continue to celebrate our 279th Founders Day, I hope that you have had the opportunity to take advantage of last night's program, which I found extremely remarkable. A talk on Anna Nichman, and if you haven't, perhaps we can get you the link. I understand it was recorded and it is well worth the 30-minute investment to learn some of the unique characteristics of Anna Nichman. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, we'll also be thrilled to have our student leaders, our leaders of the future. But tonight, it is my true honor and pleasure to introduce three remarkable women who have had distinguished careers, and we're blessed to have them be part of our Moravian story. Tonight, I have the privilege of presenting Dr. Mary Kate Andris, class of 1996, Deborah Opplinger McKinnon, class of 1973, and Dr. Honnie Spencer, class of 1990. Their unique, remarkable Moravian experiences helped to prepare them to become impactful leaders in their communities and in their careers. So let's start with Dr. Mary Kate Andris, class of 1996. Most recently, Mary Kate served as the president and CEO of the YWCA Southampton Roads in Norfolk, Virginia, a place I've spent 20 years. The YWCA employs counselors and advocates for abused women in need of legal assistance. The YWCA also provides subsidies for childcare to low-income women pursuing their education and helps them find housing as they become self-sufficient. After graduating, Mary Kate's career actually started in the Alumni Relations Office at Moravian College. And she and her husband, Kevin, class of 1994, have kept Moravian close to their hearts ever since. She earned a Bachelor of Arts from Moravian College and a Master's and Doctorate in Education from Widener University. Mary Kate has helped the college in various volunteer roles over the years. She and Kevin continue to make the Hounds a priority through their consistent leadership level support of the Moravian College Scholarship Fund. Mary Kate?
Hi there, everybody. Great to see you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for asking me to be included. Bertie, it's so wonderful to see you. Yes, thank you for giving me my first job out of college. Thank goodness for that, right? I was the Assistant Director of Alumni Relations and planned my very first homecoming the year after I graduated. So pretty crazy experience, but really neat to be able to stay home, right, at Moravian. So yes, I met and married my husband. We will be married almost 25 years this summer, class of 94. He was an Ogo brother. I was a Pi sister. And you know how you meet people on campus and at parties. Kevin would often tell you if he was to hear, he would tell you that he didn't know where I lived because I was always on South Campus. I was a music major coming in, sang for Dick and Monica Shaw's, sang at every Vespers all 4 years. And so music was a really big part of my life. And that was why I chose Moravian. My dad will tell you that the reason I chose Moravian was because we went there maybe third instead of first. He wanted me to find some places that I might not like to find Moravian. And when I walked on campus, I was just instantly comfortable there. Coming from a small high school, going to a small college was the right thing for me. In high school, I was very shy and very withdrawn. I was in theater and stage, but I was always, in the background. And so Moravian gave me the opportunity to try out some new things. And, when you go to college, you're a new person, you get to start over. And so I got to start over. And so I was involved in 26 pointers. I think you guys might call that now student ambassadors or tour guides, whatever it is. I was involved in the Ecumenical Society. I gave out the host at Mass every Sunday night. Of course, pledged a sorority. My roommate in college was a field hockey goalie. So I took score for the field hockey team. I just got to be around campus. I got to do as many things as I wanted to do. And again, so to speak, start over, right? To gain some confidence at Moravian and be encouraged. I was thinking last night about some of my favorite professors and how they encouraged me. And Dr. Marabella would definitely be one of those. When he came to Moravian, it was one of his first or second years. And when I saw him this past year, 2 years ago at homecoming, I just couldn't believe he was still around. It's just good to see him. But professors were really personal. The small classes really helped me shine or made me feel comfortable about who I am and made me reach for more, which is why I went on for a master's and a doctorate at Widener University. My goal, Brian, you might not know this, but my goal is to be a college president when I grow up. And so I'm not there yet. I've got a ways to go, but being a CEO and being a CEO of an organization that leads women through difficult times was certainly a challenge. And I do think Moravian helped prepare me for that with the confidence that I gained, with the ability to feel comfortable, to network. Moravian taught me a lot of that, getting to know new people, talking to people is not scary. And so I enjoyed that. And I think a lot of those skills helped me become the YWCA CEO. I told Marissa, but it really isn't majorly public yet, but I actually, before I worked at the YWCA, I worked at the Girl Scouts of the Colonial Coast as the director of philanthropy. And on Monday, I started a new job as a director of council leadership consulting at Girl Scouts of the United States. So out of Manhattan. So a big deal, working from home, but a lot of travel and basically consulting with other CEOs of Girl Scout councils, working with them on board governance, fund development, because that's of course what I have my most of my knowledge in. And some membership and some cookies. So my boys are excited about the cookie part. But I would say that Moravian also, I was thinking about this today, I didn't feel like being a woman was a problem or a disadvantage at Moravian. I felt that everyone was treated equally. And I think that really helped me get some confidence. I'm from New Jersey, but then Kevin and I moved down here to the South. And let me just tell you, down here in the South, it's a little different. And yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, and a lot of that. And women are very much still in the background down here. And so being confident, again, with my Moravian experience, it taught me to speak when I needed to speak and maybe hold my tongue when it wasn't my turn, because down here things are a little different. But I do feel that Moravian prepared me for my future and continues to. And every chance Kevin and I get to go back to Moravian, we're there. So thanks for having me tonight. I appreciate it. And it's great to see all familiar faces. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Mary Kate. We appreciate your words of advice and good luck with that college presidency goal. I'm sure Brian has a great deal of insight he would like to share with you about that, probably in a more private setting. It's now my pleasure to introduce Deborah Opplinger McKinnon, JD, class of 1973. She has devoted herself to improving the world for the most vulnerable. In 1999, Deb and her husband, Russell, founded the International Theos Foundation to assist organizations that provide critical services to the underserved throughout the world. She is also president of the Soar Optimist International, which focuses on the betterment of lives of girls and women by supporting women worldwide in need of resources to start their own businesses. Deb earned her Master's of Fine Arts from the University of Michigan and her Juris Doctorate from the Vermont Law School. An accomplished attorney advisor, having leadership positions in the capital markets and secondary financing at Fannie Mae and Mortgage Bankers Association, she currently serves as the executive director of the American College of Trust and Estate Counsel in Washington, D.C. Deb has proudly served Moravian as a former member of the Moravian DC Alumni Planning Committee and a board trustee member since 2008. Deb supports our current music students through the Elizabeth Jones Opplinger Class of 1930 Scholarship Fund in honor of her mother, who was a voice major at Moravian. Deb?
Thank you, Leah. And it's a pleasure to be here this evening with all of you, but especially with Mary Kate and Honey. Thanks for your time. My story is a lot like Mary Kate's. You'll hear a lot of the same words I'm going to share with you this evening as well. And a key word for my remarks this evening is connection. It's the Moravian connection. I was fortunate and have been fortunate enough to have had this connection with Moravian, for more than 45 years. Not exactly 279, but a long time. I am from the class of 73. The first connection I'd like to share with you is the fact that I am a daughter of a Moravian graduate, the second as a student and graduate of Moravian, third as a donor to the college, and fourth and most recently as a member of the Board of Trustees. My mom was, as Leah had said, a member of the class of 1930, and she was a voice major. I can't sing, I have no musical talent whatsoever, but I originally from Nanticoke, Pennsylvania, near the Wilkes-Barre area, about 90 miles north of Bethlehem. And my dad died when I was young. I was an only child. And when it came time to think about college, I really wanted to go away to college. That was the term we used back then. And it was really important to me. I just wanted to leave my smaller town to go to a campus, to live on campus and get that experience of being with others, especially being an only kid. So I was very fortunate that my mom and I came to terms with Moravian. Now I will say, and I mentioned this earlier to a few of you, UCLA was my aspiration. You see, I wanted to go about as far away as possible from northeastern Pennsylvania, but Moravian was the place. Moravian was the connection. From the time I arrived and I lived on South Campus, the connection was there. I was comfortable. Historic Bethlehem. It was perfect. My student experience began in Main Hall in a quad with 3 roommates. And I lived on South Campus till my senior year when I moved off campus. Now, my connection was immediate with South Campus, but lots of things changed in the 4 years that I was at college. From the time of my freshman year, when South Campus was all women, with a 9 p.m. curfew and a check-in during the week, an 11 p.m. curfew on weekends, yahoo, we got to party, to when I graduated, North Campus, the dorms were co-ed. That's a big transition in 4 years. And there was no longer any sign-in on South Campus and no curfew, 4 years' time. So those years at Moravian were also years very similar to times that we're living in. The civil and social unrest that we're experiencing today, not so different in many ways from what occurred in the late 60s, early 70s. The Vietnam War was concluding, the draft was ending, there were racial, economic unrest and tensions. But on campus, Moravian engaged and connected with students to allow the social discourse to dissent, to debate, to have the opportunity to exchange ideas and to nurture students, to help students understand and to help students be successful through the 4 years of their scholarly pursuit. The connection on campus offered respect for all. And I know that continues today, that culture continues today, because as a trustee, President Grigsby's communications to all on campus go to all the trustees. And there's a great deal of back and forth and discussion and communication. That's a hallmark of Moravian. It's that ongoing culture of support, culture of respect, and culture of providing connections with one another and with students and the faculty. What Mary Kay said regarding how important the connection was with faculty and the support, same experience. I was a political science major and a double major in Spanish, very important. At Moravian, I learned to ask questions, question others, challenge myself for a better understanding of the different political perspectives, learned perseverance, and rejection's not the end of the world. I got rejected. I got a D on a paper once. It was horrible. I got rejected. The small class size, the professor interest, and all the extracurricular activities. The D on the paper in English was particularly hurtful because I was very active in the newspaper, The Comedian. I was editor of our college yearbook. So really, what was that professor thinking? The student connection, growth as a scholar, growth as a person, and confidence. Mary Kate spoke of the confidence coming out of Moravian, a smaller school, but providing a great deal of confidence to a kid from a small town in northeastern Pennsylvania who's going on to graduate school and then law school. And I will say that the career path wasn't a direct path for me. Going on to law school, it wasn't what I was thinking of. And I don't think I was very unique at that time either for those of my cohort. Career was certainly aspirational, but it was getting the college degree. Now, how do you apply that political science degree, that Spanish degree? That my road was not a straight road. Moravian gave me the courage and the ability to see that doors open and doors close, and to, again, be persevering. I was one of only 6 women in my law school class of 147. And there's a concept in law, tort law, civil law, called the reasonable person test now. Well, back then it was the reasonable man test. I can remember sitting in that class, hearing that, the professor go on and on, raised my hand and I said, excuse me, I think that needs to be the reasonable person test. And the laughter, tremendous laughter, all through. Professor came up to me after the class. We had a discussion. He understood. He appreciated. He said, but it's the reasonable man test. Now, I share that with you because it's now the reasonable person test. That's not because of me. That's because of the women and the cohort that we had at that time. And the feminist movement really, again, in that 70s period, where we were engaged in social discourse, discussion, and exchanging views. But I learned to be brave enough to raise my hand at Moravian. And it was okay, I was laughed at. You know, 40 years later, it is the reasonable person test. So I was right. So I did become an attorney advisor, had the fortunate opportunity to work with a very large corporation, Fannie Mae, and provide guidance and in loan restructurings, bankruptcies, and work with the capital markets. And that's where, when I was with Fannie Mae, someone from the development office reached out to me and said, "Can I have lunch with you? I'd like to talk with you about getting engaged in supporting the college." And I said, "Well, okay." So we had lunch. And he asked the question, "What's your connection to the college?" And I thought, right? And I thought of all the things I've just shared with you. But most importantly, he said, what made you go to Moravian? What was exciting about that? I said, well, what made me go was my mother initially, but I loved my experience and I gained a lot from it. And we talked, and from that conversation, I started the scholarship in my mom's name in the music department really for anyone, not just a voice major, but a music student scholarship. And most recently, I've had the opportunity to meet with two of the recipients of that scholarship. Connection. It's not only contributing and supporting, but it's then meeting those individuals and sharing your story and hearing their story and seeing them move on and become the young women that they will be in the profession that they choose. And my last connection is to Moravian as a trustee. I see Lynn Chenoweth on this call. Lynn was the chairman of the Board of Trustees at the time I became a trustee. Lynn and I had lunch. Lynn and I talked about the commitment, the financial, the time commitment, and really she asked me why, what's the importance? And I said, well, I do want to continue to give back to the college. And I can truthfully say that the experience as a trustee, I've grown, I've learned. I deal with a great deal of governance in my current position as the executive director of the American College of Trust and Estate Council. I learn every time I'm in a board meeting at Moravian to take back to my current profession. I hope I contribute from my current profession to the governance and to the board, but I learn every meeting, every opportunity, every Zoom call. I learn as much as I give. So my ultimate connection is with giving and giving back and doing it through Moravian and reaching out and being a part of a much larger organization, all of you and all of your commitments and all that you do. So thanks for letting me share my story.
Thank you so much, Deb. I know the college is a better place because of your long-standing involvement and giving back of your time, talent, and treasure. We do really appreciate everything you've done for the college. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Honnie Spencer, class of 1990. Something about the class of 1990. Honnie earned a Bachelor of Science degree in biology and a Bachelor of Arts degree in classical piano performance at Moravian. She went on to earn a Doctor of Medicine degree from Case Western Reserve School of Medicine. An accomplished pianist, she received an associate and a licentiate diploma in music from the Trinity College of Music in London, England, and the Cleveland Institute of Music as well. In 2002, she founded the Logan Community Music School for disadvantaged children and adults to provide instruction of music theory and piano to those who cannot afford it. Honnie currently resides in North Carolina, where she is a family physician. She volunteers her time with Moravian College as a Board of Trustee member, a role in which she's held since April of 2010. Now, something else about Honnie that you might not know is that Brian has very fond memories of Honnie practicing her piano in the hub. So when Moravian became an all-Steinway school, Honnie very willingly funded the Steinway piano that currently resides in the hub. So if you have an opportunity to play that piano, think of Dr. Honey Spencer, because she donated the piano to the college. Thank you so much for that, Honey. The show is yours.
Well, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be involved in this program. And as a proud Moravian graduate, it's my pleasure to share my Moravian story with you. And so my story actually began in a very small country in the Eastern Caribbean called Antigua. For those of you who don't know very much about that island, interestingly enough, it was colonized by the British. And so I grew up speaking English on this very small island that only has about 60,000 people living there and is about 108 square miles. The Moravian Church, which I was born and raised in. Both sides of my family are Moravians. And so my Moravian connection and my story started in the church. And as I grew up there, I had the pleasure of meeting one of my first music instructors, Mrs. Elizabeth Cogan, who's currently resides in New Zealand, is from New Zealand. And so my musical career started back in the church. And in 1985, Monica and Richard Schatz, who at the time were the directors of the choir at Moravian Church, actually spent a summer, I think for approximately a week, visiting our particular church in St. John's, Antigua. And that was my first exposure to Moravian College. And I remember being so enthralled and just taken by the sound of the choir and the beautiful relationship we actually garnered with the Moravian choir at the time. And unbeknownst to myself, I had actually just completed high school. I went to a Catholic high school and spent 1 year working in my high school teaching. And then we had a change of pastors in our church. And at that time, the Moravian community in Bethlehem had created these scholarships through the church to expand their international student body. And I was blessed to be one of the recipients of one of those scholarships. And that was when my connection and experience at Moravian College began. So in 1986, I left my hometown of Antigua, which again, as echoed by our previous speakers about the fact that moving from a small place to a college such as Moravian was so ideal. Just thinking of someone coming from a total different culture, experience different language, different customs, and now living in a vast country like the United States, moving to Moravian College in Bethlehem was the absolutely best thing that ever happened to me. I just couldn't imagine going to another place in the United States. And so the transition for me was wonderful. I moved into this college where people accepted me for who I am. Of course, I was externally appeared very different to most people at the time, but never one time did I ever feel as if I was different. So one of my experiences that I can say that really resonates with me throughout my life was how I was accepted for who I am and who I was at Moravian. And the community really just wrapped their arms around me. I remember the teachers, my Dr. Kervink, Dr. Bevington, Dr. Hosier in the biology department, were just so very inviting. They certainly created an environment that allowed me to be myself. Just like you said earlier, Dr. Deborah, that you felt comfortable asking questions. And again, too, I was very shy, coming from a small country into a large, vast place like the United States was just a little bit daunting. So for me, at the time when I relocated to Moravian, I really didn't have the path of becoming a doctor. Actually, I really wanted to be a concert pianist. I believe in my first very semester, Dr. Schatz was my actual advisor. And I remember sitting in a chair and we were sorting out what subjects I was going to choose that semester. And for a brief moment, I had this idea, I really enjoyed the sciences. I loved biology at the time, not really, again, thinking of becoming a physician, but I told Dr. Schwantz, hey, Dr. Schwantz, I would like to take some biology classes. I'm interested in the science field. And I remember him saying, well, I don't know exactly how you're going to do that because, his expertise was in the music arena. So he said, well, let's try these various things. And, the beautiful thing about it, he did not at the time tell me, no, you couldn't do that. He was, and even though he wasn't exactly familiar on how to navigate that process, or even suggest, what are you going to do with the sciences, he was very encouraging. And so I started taking these classes, and I started really thinking about towards the end of my first year, well, in reality, most of my mentors at the time who were musicians, they ended up teaching, and the arena for classical performers who traveled around the world was very competitive. And I decided, what, I think the best plan would be to go into medicine, and I could still continue playing the piano rather than the reverse if I just kept playing the piano and never ever getting the experience of becoming a physician. So within that year, I made that transition whereby now I decided I was going to also major in biology. Now that became a little tricky because of course certain subjects are not offered during a certain time of the semester. So I spent most of my summers at Moravian, and I will tell you, talking about connection, I can certainly say for a fact that my lifelong friends that to this day I can depend on are the people that I met at Moravian College. My closest friends, I saw them every day at Moravian. Some of them graduated, some of them were in classes ahead of me, graduated before me. But the bottom line, to this day, we have kept together and in touch all this time. And they were people who I find were the rocks for me at Moravian College. So when I think of Moravian, I think of so many wonderful things. I was part of the choir. We traveled. It was my first experience in traveling to Europe. I went on a trip to Russia with the choir. We went to England, Germany, Czechoslovakia. Again, I don't think that I would have had such an experience having gone perhaps to a different school. Just to put it into perspective, my brother and I actually received scholarships to go to different colleges. My brother went to Howard University, and when we compare our experiences, it's totally different. He went to a very large school. The attrition rate was very high. Nobody cared whether you turned up to class or not. Whereas here I attended a very small college where the teachers actually cared, and they would know if you didn't go to class. I had friends I remember friends who were told me, you know what, Dr. X called me, they realized I didn't come to class, or I was getting to class late, and they saved my work. I mean, where do you find that? I mean, it just really doesn't exist. Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't exist, but it certainly is not a common theme that you would find. So I would have to say that Moravian gave me that confidence, the ability to feel comfortable in my own skin, and truly in my own skin. As a trustee, I am absolutely honored to pay it forward, to give back. I got so much from it. And it's not just a financial support, it was the emotional support, the spiritual support. And for me, it only behooves me to do the same, which is why I'm absolutely honored to be in the to be a trustee and to support what we do for our students. So that's my story. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Honey, for those really encouraging words. It's nice to see somebody follow both of their passions and to find a place where you can make it work and make it succeed. And it's a true testament to what I know the work at Moravian College is about, which is helping students find their passion, helping them become community leaders, and dedicated to creating good in the world at the end of the day. So thank you, Honey. Thank you, Deb and Mary Kate. We appreciate your taking your time, your valuable time, to share your stories with us, and to all of those who logged on, and to all of those who will hopefully watch your presentations at a later time if today had a conflict. You are remarkable women, and we're very fortunate that you are part of the Moravian story. So we do have time this evening for questions and answers. And I'm going to turn the floor over to Amanda and Justin, and they will field all of the questions. So I believe if you want to submit a question, you submit it in the chat, and I will allow them to be the gatekeepers for the rest of the night. Thanks again.
Thank you, Leah, and thanks to Deb, Honey, and Mary Kate for your presentations. They were wonderful. Like Leah said, if you have any questions for any of our speakers or presenters tonight, you can submit it in the chat, and Justin will read those out for us as we get them.
Thanks, Amanda. Question for Honey from Elaine. Elaine wants to know, do you continue to play the piano, and what is your favorite piece, if you have one?
Yes, I do. I will have to say not as much as I did when I was in college, but whenever I get the opportunity, I love to play. My favorite composer is Rachmaninoff, and actually one of my favorite pieces is the Concerto No. 2 that I'm working on. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm working on that. So.
Great, thank you.
Honey, it's Deb, and I'm going out of order here, Justin, so you'll just have to bear with me. I am sure you saw, and we all saw, Dr. Elvis during the pandemic, the singing doctor, the singing surgeon, I believe.
Yes.
I want to say the Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland. I may be wrong about which hospital he was representing. I think we have our own talented musical doctor that needs a little bit of love and attention and notoriety.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I've often thought of actually going around to patients' rooms and playing the keyboard, dragging it with me, but I really have not had that opportunity. And unfortunately, the pandemic makes that a little bit challenging. I think vocals are easier to do, but dragging an instrument in and out of a room might be a little bit challenging. But yeah, I never really actually thought of doing that, but now I might.
Honey, how much of a role did music play, throughout your college career and, even into your professional life now?
Oh, I would have to say it has played a major role. The life of a physician, the training that is required, the hours you spend can certainly be very challenging to someone's emotion and physical strength. And I can't tell you how many times, if it wasn't for music, that I might have checked myself into, a facility, because it can be very, very stressful. And for instance, just like what we're actually going through now with the pandemic, when I get home, it's what I use to decompress and to get my mind in a stable area, a quiet area. One of the things at Moravian that I didn't even elaborate on is not just the piano, but I actually played in the orchestra and really spent some time with my French horn. I also play French horn right now for a local church that I attend, and we have a 50-piece orchestra. And so on Sundays when I'm in between shifts, or if I'm actually off, I continue to play my French horn. So that adds another dimension to my comfort and helps me to really be able to remain as stable as possible. Music really has been an absolute important part of my life. Without it, I don't know what I would have done.
Great, thank you. Also, Honey, can you talk about the school that you started and sort of the process that you took when starting that?
So yes, I created a school called the Logan Community Music School, and the goal was to offer free piano and theory lessons to anyone actually who was interested in learning music and especially keyboard. I have at least the highest I've had in attendance was about 60 students, and ranging from ages as small as 5 and all the way up to early 70s. Most of the students, their goal was to learn at least how to read music, and some of the students went on to enter examinations through the Royal Schools of Music that was offered through a Canadian course. And some of my older students, their interest was mostly learning how to play hymns for church and the like. So although my goal was really to at least impart that knowledge to them, and they would take it to whatever level they wanted to take it to. Thankfully, I did get some pianos donated for most of the students. So now those who started without pianos now do have pianos. And so that was really fantastic. Sometimes it's a little challenging because getting folks to understand that playing the piano or any instrument for that matter, it does take time and practice. It's not an overnight, it doesn't happen overnight. But other than that, it's really rewarding. I am on a little hiatus as we speak, just because of the pandemic and the number of hours I spend in the hospital. But once the pandemic goes away, hopefully soon, I will be able to get back into the swing of things.
Great, thank you. Deb, first question for you. Can you talk a little bit more about the organization that you and Russ started together, and some of the other international organizations that you've supported throughout the many years that you've been involved in your role?
Thank you, Justin. It'd be my pleasure. The International Theos Foundation, Russ and I established that back in about 1997. It was at a period of my professional career when I had disposable income that I could do something with. That doesn't come along all those many times. And we discussed what opportunities there were. My husband is a graduate of Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts. Comes from a long Jesuit line of experience and culture and training. So supporting, giving, being a participant to try to enrich and make lives better was something we shared. So with that opportunity, the International Theos Foundation it's a small family foundation. We support what we say are the organizations that are not supported by the larger, well-known organizations. We've done a great deal of work in Haiti, and that work has been associated with providing money for running water, to build running water facilities, to put in almost aqueducts to allow running water, as opposed to having the women in the community walk many miles to get water and bring water back to their home, and also supporting the development of a school. So Haiti has been our main project the past 10 years, and continuing to support that the community there. They have many environmental issues regarding consistently being hit by hurricanes and recovering. So there is always an opportunity with being engaged in assisting those individuals who really do need the attention, that aren't getting the attention. We don't have so much a grant process as we do work with our network here in Washington, D.C. Of individuals who are engaged in international operations and see the need, and we communicate and report with them. The other organization that we work closely with, that has in the past years, that has really taken off, is Women for Women International. Women for Women International, working with Seroptimist International. Seroptimist International is a business and professional women's organization, and it means sorrow and optima, best for women. And we supported, Seroptimist International supported and helped get Women for Women International off the ground here in Washington, D.C. And those two initiatives come together in supporting the women and supporting women and girls in making their lives better in their communities. In many communities, economically, worldwide, the women are always the ones who provide the sustenance, and the men are often at war, the men are often fighting, the men are often killed. The villages and communities are left with the women leaders, and we've provided microloans to a variety of communities, particularly through the continent of Africa, in supporting their efforts. And some of their products then are brought to the United States, sold, and the proceeds go back to the individual communities to continue to fund the endeavors of the women. Very meaningful connections, very meaningful work being done by both organizations, Women for Women International and Seroptimist International. So I thank you for the question, Justin.
Thank you so much, Deb. Appreciate it. Mary Kate, what is it that interests you in, your aspirations of becoming a college president? I believe Peter French, I saw him on the call earlier. I think he's still on, but Peter was also a former college president as well.
Part of me is crazy. No, I guess for me, education is really important. Access to education is really important. Having now worked for women's organizations, especially most recently with the YW, where access to even just food and shelter, the critical things that Dr. West taught me, right, in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right, the safety of shelter and food and clothing, just having opportunities and providing opportunities for education, I think helps make the world go round. So I'd like to see that through, and I have a passion for that. I have my doctorate in higher education administration. I find that scholarships and financial aid key and critical. I would not have been able to afford Moravian without financial aid and a music scholarship, the Thursby scholarship. So I find all the inner workings of academics and education really fascinating. I'm a fundraiser by training, so I know how to get the money, and I know the colleges need the money, and the money goes to those students. And to me, it's a circle. It's a circle of life, and so that's why I'm really interested in it. I'm 46, so my goal was to do it by the time I'm 50. I don't know that I will, but it is one of those small, and same. I would like it to be a small college like Moravian, a small, intimate place that has a really good relationship, that with their students that lifts them up, encourages them to be confident, and sends them off into the world to be successful humans. So that's what I'm looking for.
Well, great. Thanks, Mary Kate. Hope that you're able to fulfill that aspiration. So appreciate it.
We'll see.
Another question that I have for you is, can you talk a little bit about the challenge that you faced, with the Boy Scouts admitting, girls?
Yeah, that's a big one. And I think right now Girl Scouts has two things they need to talk about out loud. One is the competition of Boy Scouts. The other is diversity, equity, and inclusion, because they've not always been so inclusive. And so I intend to be part of that conversation. I think girls learn better with their peers around them. Girls encourage other girls. Most times women, fix each other's crowns instead of knocking them off, so to speak. And it's all about the courage, confidence, and character that Girl Scouts builds in girls. Back to the confidence that I had at Moravian, the whole Girl Scout thing, I think weaves into my Moravian experience, because I was a Brownie and a Girl Scout, and am now a lifetime Girl Scout. I think the other thing too is just the comfort of learning, girl to girl, girls next to you. There's no embarrassment level with the boys there. I think Boy Scouts is going to entertain girls for a while, but I don't know that it will be a long-term change for them. A lot of girls want to do more camping at Girl Scouts. I know we're focused on that, and I know that's what Boy Scouts do. But I tell you, I'm a Girl Scout, and I know how to build a fire, and I know how to camp. So I don't know that I needed to be a Boy Scout to learn that. So I think that is going to be a challenge for a little while for Girl Scouts. Yeah.
Thanks, Mary Kate. Any final questions for any of our guests on the event here tonight?
Shout out to Amy Endler. Hi, Amy. I see you. It's so good to see you. I hope everything's well.
And I'm going to put my contact information in the chat now for everyone. So if there are, additional questions that you would like me to connect with Deb, Honey, and Mary Kate, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to get those questions answered for you. I'm now going to turn the event over to my colleague, Marissa Zondag, class of 2013. Marissa is a leadership gift officer with a focus on women philanthropy. And so she is going to give a few remarks on the new Anna Nichman Society. So Marissa.
Thank you so much, Justin. And I want to echo Leah and thank again Mary Kate, Deb, and Honey for being with us tonight and sharing your remarkable journeys with us. Justin gave me a great introduction. So I'm Marissa Zondag, class of 2013, in the Office of Development and working specifically on women's philanthropy. It is evident from our presenters that Moravian truly has remarkable women in its community. If you were able to be with us last night, we learned a little bit about one of these first remarkable Moravian women, Anna Nichman. Anna was ahead of her time in so many ways, but one of the most notable achievements was that she was able to help raise the funds to start the girls' school that would one day become our beloved Moravian College. So to honor her legacy and all the Moravian women that came after her, we will be starting the Anna Nichman Society this year. This philanthropic society will recognize, honor, and celebrate women's dedication and generosity throughout Moravian's history, while inspiring, educating, and supporting future generations of students. More information will be coming soon. This kind of is the first group that has gotten to hear about this, so I'm delighted to be able to share it with this remarkable group of people. But if you have any questions about what the society is or how to join, I think Justin can throw my contact information in the chat as well. Please reach out to me and I will make sure to be in touch once we have everything finalized. But again, thank you to our three presenters and for everyone for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Marissa. And I will go ahead and put Marissa's contact information in the chat for everyone now as well. All right. Thank you to Leah for being tonight's MC and co-host, Mary Kate, Deb, and Honey Your success stories as leaders throughout your careers, your local communities, and for the Moravian College community are truly inspiring. Your remarkable accomplishments serve as an example of the transformative experience that all of our students experience as part of the Moravian College education, and a beacon of light for possibly some of our alumni joining us tonight on the call, as well as for our future students. Supporting future generations of alumni and students here at Moravian is a hallmark as part of building relationships at the college. And so I do want to just put a quick link in the chat for you to have the opportunity of continuing the legacy of your Moravian College experience. And in addition, I would just like to say that tomorrow night we'll conclude our Founders Day series. We are going to be joined by two remarkable current students, Victoria Vargas, class of 2021, and Gabrielle Stanley, also class of 2021. And they are going to share a little bit more about their Moravian experiences and about the ways that they will take that experience and lead in the 21st century in their vocation. So I hope to see some of you on the call tonight, tomorrow, and I wish you all have a great rest of the evening. And please don't hesitate to reach out and check out the Founders Day webpage. We are going to have this recording as well as all of our recordings as part of this year's program on the Founders Day webpage next week. So feel free to check back if you would like to view any of these presentations again. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your night.
Good evening, all. Thank you.